Welcome to ME1 TV. My name's Steve Blacknell with the one and the very only Cleo Rocos.
Oh, and now there's a throbbing introduction, isn't it? Thank you so much.
I do the best throbbing ones there are. So now, Cleo, we go back a while. Let's talk about the 80s. The 80s were an amazing time.
Yeah, they were. It was full of colour and unpredictability and great happy people. Lots of happy people. Everything was geared around being happy and creative, really.
Was it really as good as I remember it, or was it just a veil of drink and parties?
No, I think that it was as good as you remember it. There was a lot of drink and parties, and I go out a lot now, and of course there's still a lot of people having a good time, but I don't know if the drugs are different or what, but people don't seem to be having as good a time as they were in the 80s.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur, really. And, of course, we knew each other back then. And, of course, you were known very well on the TV via Mr. Kenny Everett.
That's right. Yes, I started working with Kenny in my last year of school. And really, I can't say anything other than they were my most favourite years of my life. It was like being in a giant cartoon. And we just went out to have fun. He was mischievous. He wasn't aggressive, and he wasn't mean. His comedy was not mean. It wasn't at the detriment to anyone else. It was all cartoonular and happy, and it was like living on the edge of one giant inflection. Upward inflection.
I was going to say not a downward one, but of course behind every clown there's a sad side. But Kenny was a thinker and a deep thinker too.
Yes, he was, but I never experienced a down. People do say, oh, well, he got depressed and things. It never depressed when we were together. We would go out and shriek from edge to edge. We would get very nearly arrested on several occasions just by having, being slightly over-refreshed and having a really good time. So you sort of stretched the elasticity a little bit. But there was one time we had been at a big charity function with Princess Diana, and I was wearing a giant pink ball gown with a tiara, just for little campness, as everyone else was. And on the way home, because Kenny was a really great drunk driver, and I know that's probably not a really PC thing to say, but he was, and very calm. And so on the way home, he was driving round and round Trafalgar Square, and I was on top of the car pretending to be a siren, because he said, Cleo, you look like a siren in that tiara. So I got up on the top of the car and went dee 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 dee, going round and round Trafalgar Square, and the police stopped us and stopped the car and opened the door and looked at Kenny and said, "Oi, you, at the car now. What do you think this is all about?" And Kenny got out of the car and he said, "Oh, there you are, Cleo. I've been driving round and round looking for you everywhere." And as soon as the police saw it was him, they didn't arrest us or him. So we got away with a lot of bongly glee, but nothing malicious, just, happy, chortly nonsense.
And of course there was life after Kenny, who sadly left us now. And for you, things didn't stop there.
No, in fact, I'm president of the Tequila Society. I'm a real tequila potholer, and in 2011 I spent 10 months creating my own brand of tequila with a Mexican master blender in Guadalajara. So I have my own tequila brand, Aquariva, and it's been awarded Best of the Best in the world's biggest tequila competition in America.
Gosh, how do you get through a tequila competition without falling over?
Well, if it's really good tequila, you just, like mine, you will just become the favourite version of yourself, and that's where you'll stay.
So what's it about tequila? Is it magical? I mean, it's said to be above the whiskies, the gins, the vodkas and stuff. Is there something really magical about it?
On a really more serious note, the tequila that most people have had, including myself, were the first tequilas were sort of things that you thought, in a bobsleigh to hell, I was never, ever going to go near a tequila again. And that's what's known in the industry and now to most consumers as a mixed tequila. A great tequila has to be 100% agave. That's the plant from which it's made. And of course, like anything, there are different levels of 100% agave tequilas. I make mine with the highest quality agaves. I reduce the methanol so that people will not be reeling all over the place. And there's no sugar in it. There's nothing in my tequila but the plant and volcanic spring water. So a lot of the drinks that people consume are loaded with chemicals and sugars and all sorts of junk that send people reeling, and they're often the sort of slightly out of control girls in short skirts, in gussetless outfits, rolling around with their honeymoon pout on display after a few sweet cocktails, and their boyfriends are full of sugary cocktails too, so they get aggressive, and the sugar is a real demon in everything. So I make all my cocktails with organic agave syrup. And again, that's my syrup. And again, I want people to have a good time. My whole thing is I get no bigger kick than seeing people drinking my products and having a good time. And again, like the tequila, there's agave syrup and there's agave syrup. A lot of the agave syrup out there is mixed with corn syrup, so it's got sugar and junk in it, and it's pointless. And I spent 2 years sourcing my agave syrup to make sure I could bring the best, because I like to party and get away with it.
Do you involve a worm anywhere?
No, and my advice is never drink anything with a dead animal in it. Really, never drink anything with a dead animal in it. Never drink with dreary people, and always wear a full complement of underwear. Because you never know. No, this thing with dead animals, it's all gimmick and all, really for shoddy liquids. I wrote a book entitled The Power of Positive Drinking, which is all about, I'm a spirits judge, and you get to learn what's in various spirits and wines and things, and they're loaded with impurities. Wine can have up to 200 additives legally, but who wants to consume stuff we don't know about? So it's really important to me to have the highest quality, and people email me the whole time saying, they've had the best evening of their life on it. We've got Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield, Darren Brown, Lee Francis, Tracy Emin, even Joan Collins loves my tequila. So we have a whole wide range of people who know how to glee and feel great the next day.
There's an image, Phil Schofield with a slammer in his hand. But talking of slammers, do you actually slam a quality product like this?
No. The only reason you would contemplate or people are encouraged to slam anything is because it's inferior or to be served ice cold. So there's no reason to slam tequila unless you are in a position where you're going to have something amputated without an anesthetic. That there is really no reason. It's a gimmick created by certain brands to really shift a lot of their lesser quality stock, for being the politest I can be. But no, a great tequila should be sipped, and you should feel wonderful on it. You should not feel anything other than the favorite version of yourself. And if the whole room's drinking it, then everyone becomes fabulous, and then suddenly cartwheels of glee.
If the room's going round, it probably helps too. So does it stop here, Cleo Rocos? Does it stop at tequila, or is the world your oyster?
Well, my tequila here is selling really well online in particular, which is the way everything's going in the States. So I'm really pioneering online. We're online Waitrose, Drink Shop, Whiskey Exchange, and then in the States, Drink Up New York, or we're in the States in Rosa Mexicana, we're in Paladar. So I started to roll out in 15 key states, which is really exciting, and send shipment to India, and my organic agave syrup, this one here, is in Waitrose. In the mixer department, it's really important that to go to the mixer department because that's the best. And I say it's the best because it is. Obviously, I would if it's my own brand, but it's actually, it actually is scientifically, if you break it down, it is the best.
Now, tequila does rock, and of course, it's literally rocking at the moment.
It is. I'm so proud I can hardly move because Aquariva Tequila is the official tequila of Team Rock, which is a classic rock magazine, Prog, all of them. And here's my ad. Look at this. This is so fat with rocktails. And of course, Team Rock, they're the top in the rock industry. There's nothing higher and no more expertise than you find in Team Rock. And they're fabulous bands. They've got everyone in Team Rock, all the big guys. So I'm really, really honored. And they're all drinking my tequila. How good is that?
Tequila rocks on the rocks.
Exactly. Doesn't get better than that.
Just tell me how to pour the perfect tequila?
Well, you get a lovely, I like it in a shot glass. You can get a sort of champagne flute, and you just pour it in there and sip it out. It's very simple. And I think you and I ought to make a dent in these bottles, don't you?
Cut. Going back to the 80s then, let's talk about working with Nigel Planer and Rick Mayall.
Yes, I first met them in the 80s, and then about 10 years ago, I produced a comic strip film called Sex, Actually. It was all about rather, I don't know how to put it, maybe not the more strange suburban swinging that went on with sort of fleshy people in the suburbs.
Sounds very Rick, very Nigel.
Yeah, it was very funny. It was and Sheridan Smith was in it. It was a great cast, and they were superb. So it was a lot of fun. I've always been a fan of the comic strip.
And tell me about Baby Juice Express.
Well, Baby Juice Express was a film by Nick Moran, and it was a sort of a gangstery film, so it had real gangsters in it too, which was really quite exciting because that made for quite odd late night filming. You know, when you were night shoots, there'd be strange characters that would show up, and there'd be strange people guarding the set, and you know, you'd hear sort of squeals in the background of people who were being turned away. So there were real gangsters coming after the real gangsters in the film. So it was really quite exciting and very nice. And I have to tell you, all the gangsters I met were absolutely lovely.
One last question, Claire. Do you miss telly? Do you miss all that stuff?
I liked the television. When I was working with Kenny, television was fun, and it was really full of great characters, and it was like being in a giant club. Now a lot of the entertainment relies on people selling stories about each other and being sleazy about each other and having plastic chesticles and particles and all sorts of things, you know, really freak TV. But I am working with Lee Francis, Keith Lemon, and I'm working on we'll be working with him on his new series. And if it's something I want to do, I will do it. And that's why I'm sitting here with you, because I've been throbbingly half in love with you since the 80s, and you know that.
Cleo, I don't blame you. This is Cleo Rocos on ME1 TV.